Hey, and we are live. Hey there, YouTube. Welcome back to the stream. So today we're going to be doing something a bit different than normal. One moment. Today... Oh, wrong one. There we go. Today we're going to be going over the patch notes in regards to my current builds. Just because, there are some things that I need to change regarding each of these builds. And I figure I'll spend my time during today's stream just going over what needs to get changed as we look at the practical purposes of each thing. First, we're going to hop on my Falconer. And here in the patch notes, we're going to go over to Rogue. And take a look at everything that is specific to this character. So in game here, we can see that the skills that I use for my rogue build are Ballista, Puncture, Dive Bomb, Falconry, and Net. Going back over to the patch notes, we can see the skills that were affected for me were Ballista here, which is like a big one. This one had a very important change that we're going to go over. Dive Bomb had a bit of a change, and which we'll go over. Falconry had a kind of big change for me, but once again, we'll go over that. Net just had a bug that was fixed, so nothing major there. And Puncture had a little bit of a change that really doesn't really change anything for the way we're using it. So we're mainly going to be going over what changed in Falconry, Dive Bomb, and Ballista. So, starting with Ballista, we can see that there was a rework to Care Package. So, we'll go and switch back over to the game. You see that Care Package is this over here. So, the way this used to work is that anytime your Ballista would hit an enemy, like if you had put full points in, then 2 potions would drop from it hitting an enemy. And if you saw my my last stream where I attempted to face off with Aberoth for the first time, I can see that like in the pre-fight to Aberoth, like it was just a mess of potions, just potions everywhere in that arena. It was honestly a ridiculous amount of potions. So going back to the notes, we can see that the change being made to Care Package. See if we can get that to... There we go. So the change is being made to Care Package. I switch to... I have the notes up. The change being made here is that now instead of you getting 2 potions whenever your Ballista hit, instead you're going to be able to invest in your Ballista being able to cause a potion to drop. As we can see here, that like you have a 10% chance per second. And a maximum of 1 potion can drop during that time. And more importantly, this isn't when it hits something, it's when the ballista is destroyed or unsummoned. Again, now that doesn't mean that there isn't still some kind of funny business that you are going to be able to do using this. Since if we go back in here, like a way that I was using this before was that if you get armed construction, then it makes it that when the ballista is destroyed or unsummoned, it explodes. So basically, like a way that I used to use it before I started having it actually attack things. The way I used to use it was I would just throw down the ballistas and, you know, like, and just blow through all of my mana. And by doing that, you know, they would just constantly explode on the enemy. You know, which, you know, wasn't a, like, it was an okay way of doing damage, but it wasn't like a great way of doing damage. So pretty much, like, you know, it's going to bring it back to, like, using ballista that way. Wrong button. Yeah, so it's going to bring ballista back to, like, if you want to use care package, then you're going to have to use this type of methodology for using ballista. Which unfortunately means that it's not great for actually using it for attacking things. You know, like, it's more for, oh, I need some quick potions, let me spam out some ballistas real quick. You know, just to get some potions to drop, and then, you know, like, or, you know, as a preemptive thing, just like, alright, let me go and spam out some ballistas at the start of this fight. Like, just so, like, if something happens, like, you know, they're there. So, you know, so when the season 2 batch drops, I will be unspecking out of this and moving those points back over to get armed construction. Although, like, maybe, like, I mean, I might keep it the way it is. I mean, like, you know, like, obviously, like, because of the changes, I will, well, I'm hoping that they're just going to, like, uninvest these points, and then I'll have the points available to invest them in the way that it works now. Which, once again, as we can see, like, the skill itself, care package, is a maximum 1 point. And then elixir of construction is a maximum of 3 points from 5. Which, you know, that was this right here. I'm pretty sure you can see, let me make sure. Yeah. Oh, no, I mean, it's kind of cut off. Let me switch over. So elixir of construction, you can see it used to be a 5-point thing that made it that, like, the ballista would deal more damage if you used a potion within a certain amount of time of constructing it. But, like, you know, so that's being reduced so that it's not, like, you know, like, I guess, like, this was, like, a crazy thing. Like, I never, like, you can see I'm not invested in this. Like, maybe, like, this is actually, like, stupidly strong. I have no idea. But, yeah, that's being nerfed a bit. Like, I'm not going to be investing in that, but, you know, that's something to consider if that is some way that you were using ballista in your own build. And then the other changes were just regarding bugs involving on minion death and the hive mind synergy with acid flasks. Yeah, so for ballista, yeah, those are the main takeaways are that, you know, like, you're no longer going to be able to just, like, litter the arena with potions just by having your ballistas out and having them attack the enemy. But you know, like it was something that allowed me to get a lot of extra survivability in this build. But it wasn't some. But it also like it wasn't something that was working at all. Like it was obviously a bug thing. Like, you know, like there's no way that the issue where like all of the extra potions in the like pre-Aberoth arena, that, you know, that all of those like would stay in the same, like, I mean, at least for offline mode. Like, you know, like every attempt you made, all the potions would stay there. They just wouldn't be like they wouldn't be active potions. They would just be potions that like would fill up the arena, and there would just be more and more of them every time because of this. You know, so it was obviously a bugged thing that the developers just didn't like put enough time into before. But like, you know, now they've actually spent time like, you know, like using this skill and understand that like the way it was before is something that just doesn't work. So it is. So this is going to be like the first major thing that I need to change on before my Aberoth attempt on Thursday. Next up is the change to Dive Bomb. So we can see here that the effectiveness of Dive Bomb has been reduced to 500%. And that there has been like a kind of substantial nerf to the Shadow Falcons. Like, we weren't using like the shadows with this build, but you know, like if like you had shadows as part of your build and we're using Dive Bomb using the shadow upgrade, which I'll go over that real quick. So down in this section here, you have on Wings of Shadow, which makes it that if you have any shadows out and you have your bird Dive Bomb on the area where the shadows are, then it turns those shadows into Shadow Falcons, which, you know, you could do some nutty stuff with, but you know, it just wasn't the way that I wanted to play the build. Yeah, but this is like, you know, like a way to like really invest in kind of like throwing weapon stuff with a falconer. So this change, you know, so this change here is meant to kind of reduce like how like, and I'm pretty sure the reason why this is so high performing is a big reason why, like, if you know the creator Rax and Terax, like he does a lot of speedrun stuff for Last Epoch on his channel, and the class that he uses as his main speedrunner is the Falconer, and the skill he uses when he's speedrunning Falconer is Umbral Blades, which is the source of damage that on Wings of Shadow uses for its damage effectiveness. You know, so this is a big Umbral Blade combo thing that, you know, like I'm sure was probably like obliterating a lot of charts for like the online play stuff that 11th Hour Games keeps track of. Then Talon Knives here. You can see that before it was giving you increased effectiveness of Dive Bomb up to 30%. Now it's down to 15%. And going back into the game, you can see that that's right over here. I'm sorry, it was So it was 30% per point before. Now it's 15% per point before. So now it's going to be maximum of 30% of your weapon effectiveness is going to be applied to the dive bomb. So on top of the fact that the effectiveness is being dropped from 700 down to 500%. Now, if you were to be a dual-wielding build that had Talon knives, that's an additional massive reduction in the amount of damage that Dive Bomb is going to be capable of doing. Which, Dive Bomb is a very high damage skill. Like my Dive Bomb doesn't do an insane amount of damage, but it does do a very respectable amount of damage. Like, which, obviously you can't see the amount of damage that Dive Bomb does. But it is, you can, look up damage demonstrations of this skill. Like, it is, it's very nutty. That's why, I've been using, I would use this skill even if I weren't invested in this skill. Like, it's that good of a skill. So now we go into the changes to falconry. So first off, Falcon Strikes had a reduction to, it wasn't like as massive of a reduction as what Dive Bomb got, but like a pretty massive, or pretty big reduction to its damage effectiveness. Pretty much the damage over time bonuses that they used to get are now much weaker, because we're going from 25% down to 15%. Trained Hunt, and I'll go over what that is right now. So alright, here we go. Yeah. So Train to Hunt is this is the node that makes it that your, like, whatever the highest bonus is that you have on your gear, that that damage applies to your Falcon damage. So if you're doing a bow, if you're using bows and you're heavily invested into bow damage, then 75% of that was getting applied to your Falcon damage. If you were doing melee, then all of that melee damage, 75% of it would be applied to your Falcon. If you're doing throwing damage, then 75% of that would be applied to your Falcon. Regardless of like whether you're having your the main thing your Falcon's doing is the melee attacks, or if you have it set up to do all of the throwing damage stuff, like feather knives. Like, no matter how you had it set up, all of whatever damages you had were being applied at a 75% ratio to your Falcon. So this change here reduces that down to 50%. So it's, again, a pretty major reduction. So this on top of the nerf to Talon knives. That's also another major reduction to the damage that Dive Bomb does. So Dive Bomb has been severely reduced in effectiveness. Probably the largest damage reduction in the entire patch is probably to Dive Bomb. And Go for the Eyes is the critical strike chance modifier. So once again, 75% down to 50%. Falconer's Gale I wasn't using, but I'll show what that is. Okay, here it is. The Falcon's Gale is the one where, like, you know, you consume the mark and have a chance when consuming the mark to just automatically reset the cooldown on Falcon Strikes, which is the highest damage thing that Falconers have access to. But, you know, like, it's very mana heavy to run this. So most people don't run this unless, you know, they happen to be doing something where they have a ton of mana and mana regeneration in the build. But like, so this was undercut a bit by increasing that mana cost even further. So it was adding 35 on top, now it's adding 40 on top. I mean either way, like, it was such a massive amount that, you know, like, most likely, like, most people were not using this at all, just because, you know, to have that much mana as a Falconer is already asking a lot, because, you know, that's just taking away from other affixes you can be using. Like, unless you really wanted to use Falcon Strikes as your main form of damage. Like, for me, like, you know, I like using Falcon Strikes as the, alright, like, I have a second to breathe, I'm gonna hit Falcon Strikes, and again, let that go to work while I'm paying attention to what else I need to dodge. And side by side here, like, this was a really important one. So basically what this one did was that, and let me bring it up on... I thought I had that one. 1 second. Oh, there it is. Yeah. I guess I was... I kept going right past it. Like, so this is, like, a really important one, because this is the one that creates all of the synergy between all of the Falconer skills. So basically, by having side by side, like, if you are invested in the right stuff in aerial assault, dive bomb, and falconry, then, like, basically, like, the way they're set up is that, like, you know, you kind of cycle through them. So, you know, you either aerial assault to get in or out of danger. You know, you drop a dive bomb. You know, like, you hopefully get, you know, like, during one of those, get a falconer's mark on an enemy. Then you throw out your falconry, and by then, like, your cooldowns have most likely reset on this, and then you go through again. You know, like, that's the idea of this. And what made side by side such a, like, a really, like, powerful piece of the Falconer puzzle. So this right here, you're reducing it from 5% per point down to 3% per point. So now it's only reducing the cooldown by 9% each time. Like, you know, you use your, you know, your melee throwing or bow attacks. And then by... Oh. There we go. So by doing something like going into aerial assault in order to... Over here? No. Oh yeah, it's just the first one. Like, it's like skyward swoop. You know, this recovers cooldown on this skill when just from the Falcon hitting in any form. Then in Dive Bomb, by going up here, you know, more cooldown recovery. And then United Assault for reducing the remaining cooldown when using a throwing or bow attack. So, you know, so like this was like a big part of that, like of that puzzle of getting those like constantly off cooldown to be, you know, to be always like actively utilizing the Falconer skills. Yeah, so that's a big loss there for Falconers. And then this one's just a bug. Which, Silver Shroud, I've never really used Silver Shroud. Now if we go over to the game, do that in the passive tree, Falconers have this ability right here. Yeah, Coordinated Fade. Now, what Coordinated Fade does is, like, however your abilities are lined up, like, you gain a stack of this Silver Shroud, like, each time you use them in that order. Basically, like, it's, you know, and they stack up to, I think it's on 10. I thought they're... For some reason, I'm not seeing the maximum. Like, I'm pretty sure there's a maximum stacks. Or maybe there's not a maximum stacks. I just thought there was. Yeah, but the idea here is that, like, you would use Silver Shroud, so, you know, you'd build up the stacks by kind of pianoing your skills, and then you dodge in order to, again, in order to gain a bunch of ward based on the number of stacks you had. But, you know, but it has a 10-second cooldown, so it's not like something that you could rely on getting all the time. Yeah, so basically, like, you know, what the bug was is that if you were using something that, like, that you had like a synergy with something else with, like, to be like, okay, like, you know, like, if you use this skill, that this skill does something, like, then, like, the fact that it required that condition, I guess. It required that condition to be met to be used, would make it that it didn't count towards accruing stacks of Silver Shroud. Like, you know, so like a better way to, like, think of it, if you've played as a druid, when you're a druid, like, you have skills that, so, like, you know, like, when you transform into an animal form, or, like, you know, when you transform into a different form, like the skill that, you know, whichever one of your whichever one of your abilities you put that skill in, whichever, you know, whatever here you put that in, you know, that becomes your, like, your means of turning back into your human form. You know, so if you put like bear form right here, then like when you transform, this is the button you need to press in order to turn back into human form. But like there are transformations to this inside of the druid skills that make it that when you use one of your other abilities, this transforms into, you know, this would transform into, like, instead of you transforming back into your human form, maybe like, you know, if this was like, you know, using the, you know, the bear form example, like maybe you took the mutator that causes it that when you roar, you turn this into transforming you into the swarm blade form. So like, you know, so things like that are what this was having an issue with. Yeah, so those are the changes that need to be made for my falconer. And just to quickly look at the aerial assault stuff. Like there was a change made to reduce the amount of attack speed that it provided to Ballista. And they reduced the damage per intelligence that it was granting to ballistas. Yeah, so like my guess is that like the way that a lot of people were playing Falconer is they were comboing aerial assault, ballista, dive bomb, and falconry. I'm not sure what other thing that they may have been using with them, but I'm guessing like they were using like those skills in a way where like they were enhancing the damage of the ballista by a very large amount, and we're stacking intelligence, so like to get even more damage and attack speed using aerial assault. You know, and then like, you know, just like using like those skills to just like blast through everything. Like, I'm guessing that like that was the like the primary. Oh yeah. And the other skill would have been, let's see if there's a. Oh no. Oh yeah. It's at the bottom. Here we go. Umber blades. Okay. Yeah. So there were no nerfs to Umber blades. But, you know, the stuff that made Umbral Blades a major part of how a dive bomb was being used. You know, that clearly played a role in what a lot of these nerfs are what's happening with a lot of these nerfs. So it was probably like, you know, you'd put down your ballistas. Oh, no, because you'd have to use smoke bomb. Smoke bomb would have to be included in some way for the shadow generation. Is smoke bomb affected at all? Just some bugs. Yeah, because there wouldn't be any other, like if you're using ballista, dive bomb, and aerial assault. You know, the only way that you're getting shadows is using smoke bomb. Yes, I'm trying to consider like what it is that players were doing that forced this change. Because you would need to have, because in order for like what I was saying to be a problem, players needed to have been using smoke bomb and umber blades, along with falconry, aerial assault, and dive bomb. But but if you're doing that, then you can't be using ballista as well. Yeah, so maybe like there were two different paths happening. Like maybe the way that players were using falconers was that there were like a large number of players doing the, you know, falconry, aerial assault, dive bomb, umbral blades, and smoke bomb thing. And then there were a different large number of players that were just focusing on ballista and aerial assault. If we go back into the game, because as far as I'm aware, there isn't anything that causes player bow damage to be applied to ballistas. I mean, again, there's this right here that gives you a damage stat ratio based on, like, you know, your own damage modifiers. But, you know, but this isn't. But it's not like, you know, like if you are using a bow that, you know, this would be any better than using anything else. Because what I'm thinking is that, like, the way that it was being used was some combination of ballista, aerial assault, and bow skills. You know, but from marksman, the only thing you'd be able to get access to is multi-shot and dark quiver. And I don't think either one can do anything with ballista. Yeah, no mutators for ballista. If we go back over here, is there something with the quiver that can now hold up to 3 arrows at once and still only expend 1 arrow at a time? Added a new bleak arrow node for the Heartseeker. Resolve. So resolve is this. And requires 2 points in this instead of 3. Yeah, so that wouldn't be anything that affects this over here. I mean, nothing seemed to be, like, directly affecting this combo. Yeah, so the Dark Quiver change only seems to be positives for this. Which maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's not about that this was a problem. Maybe it's that they saw that it will be a problem if they kept it the way that it currently is. Because since you can pick up 3 at a time, means if you're fully invested in this, you know, that's an additional 20 damage per arrow. And you can pick up 3 at a time, so you can just buff your ballista by 60 all the time. And what's the cooldown on this? 5.7 seconds, and the cooldown stuff here. There's no cooldown recovery. Interesting. There's no cooldown recovery for this skill in its own skill tree. And there's nothing that affects cooldowns for marksmen. Yeah, so you can use... yeah, but you can obviously invest in cooldowns in your gear. Yeah. So 5.7 seconds. You can buff your ballistas. You can buff your ballistas. Yeah, because it consumes it by using a bow attack. So... Can you use flurry with bows? Yeah, you can. So flurry, puncture... Maybe cinder strike? Yeah, you can use it. So flurry, puncture, cinder strike... Multi-shot. I assume Hail of Arrows counts as an attack. It does. Okay. I mean, you wouldn't be able to get this with, as a falconer. Well... Yeah, you wouldn't be able to. Because aerial assault requires you to be a falconer. You can be a falconer with Dark Quiver, but you cannot be a marksman with aerial assault. Yeah, so your options then are just flurry, puncture, cinder strike, multi-shot. And I don't think anything else would count as a bow attack. Pretty sure Shadow Cascade, Synchronized Strike, Lethal Mirage, and Dancing Strikes all require melee weapons. And dual wielding, I think. Yeah, melee, 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 melee. Mm-hmm. So you pick up 3. Yeah, I think Flurry probably be the easiest way to consume your Dark Quiver arrows. So you use Dark Quiver, you pick up 3, you buff up your ballistas, you use Flurry to quickly consume your 3 current arrows, you go run over your next 3, buff the ballista some more. flurry. And then you have 1 arrow left. And maybe by then your cooldown has gone through. Yeah. Yeah, that's the reason why I did this. Yeah, they could see how broken that would be if, like, you know, if they enabled that. They enabled the whole three arrows at a time thing. And people would just be like crazy buffing their quivers, not quivers, their ballistas. Which, you know, they're already, it's going to be happening. Like, you know, this is 1% increased attack damage. Oh, you know, 1% increased damage per intelligence. So, you know, you big time intelligence stack. So you just make sure that you have. Well, actually, you know what? Let's go over itemization real quick. Because I do not want to speak out of turn. It's possible that I know that there's certain affixes that can't be on all pieces of gear, on like certain pieces of gear anymore. Okay, so nothing about any changes to stat affixes on gear. In which case, intelligence can still go on helmets, body armors, boots, rings, gloves, and relics. Which I think are all the same ones that dexterity can go on. Oh. Relic, I'm sorry. Dexterity can also go on quivers. You know, which is a rogue only item. Yeah, so you can get your extra dexterity from your quiver. And prioritize intelligence on something else. I don't think you can invest in intelligence as a... like in the skill tree. Yeah. As a rogue, you cannot invest in intelligence from the skill tree. So it has to come from gear. And ballista stacks on dexterity as well, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, dexterity scaling. Yeah, the attack speed and the damage scale off of dexterity. I mean, but at 4% per point, like, you really don't need the extra scaling from aerial assault. So maybe the reason for... Yes, I think the reason for this, for reducing that from 2% to 1%, is because of the ward changes. We go back over to the patch notes. Now we can see that that's interesting. I was attempting to use the browser feature of searching and did not realize that EGH or EHG had put their own keyboard shortcut for for using their search their search thing. That's funny. But not what I wanted to do. I want to use the browser search. I've never had to use the UI of the browser in order to perform a search before. There we go. Yeah, apparently using the browser search actually broke the page. That's funny. Okay, so so they reduced the accessibility of ward generation from not so quick hits. And reduce the amount of ward retention you get from intelligence. But at the same time, they added new affixes that you can get on rings and amulets. They give you ward per second and ward decay threshold. And since this is a, rings and amulets, that means that anybody can have it. Which at the moment, go back to the game. You can see that anything regarding ward now it's harder to tell. And I do hope that in the new update, they add something that lets you know, like, if the thing you're looking at is class specific or not. Because like this one, obviously this is for mage, but there's anything on it that says, hey, this is for mage. Like, you know, you can just use, you know, logic based on like what you know about other classes for certain things. But some of them, like, okay, is this a... I mean, obviously this isn't because it's on amulet, but... like this one that's on helmet or body armor. Is this a mage-specific thing? Or is it usable on other stuff? Like, I happen to know that this one right here is a mage-specific thing, but there isn't anything there that would let you know this is a mage-specific thing. Yeah, hopefully they change, they fix that in the next update. Now also, like, I would like to be able to tell, or not tell, I would like to be able to filter on here. Like, by type, you know, to be able to say, like, oh, I only want to see affix shards that can go on a ring, on a belt, on an amulet, you know? Like, those kind of filters are very important, because a lot of times, you know, you're trying to figure out the kind of things that we're talking about right now. And like, it's really hard to like, to parse through what you're looking at in a meaningful way. Because right here, once again, like, this is a mage thing, but you only know that if you like went to do something like it says helmet, body armor, catalyst. So yeah, I know there are helmets here. Find a helmet that is missing an affix. Now, these are mage helmets, though. There we go. That's suffix. And this has open suffix, right? Yeah. So like we can see here, if we go to suffixes, that, you know, that one is not something that exists that can be put onto this helmet. You know, like things like that. It's important to be able to make determinations on, oh, how do you know if this is something that goes on something without having to do what I just did right there. Yeah, so, but you know, but we can see that, you know, as far as like ward stuff goes, like these kind of things currently only exist for mage. You know, like, you know, there's like things that exist for other stuff, like for rogues you have ward gained when you create a shadow. But, you know, but like obviously ward gained when ward gained on use with smoke bomb. So like, you know, if you were to have like this one and this one on a piece of gear, then first off, that would be like an incredible waste of affix dots. But you know, you could do it. You know, you could go and like, all right, I want to be able to generate ward as a rogue and give up all of my good prefixes on my helmet and body armor, just to be able to throw down a smoke bomb and gain an amount of ward on use and for each shadow generated by the smoke bomb. You know, it's like, you know, it's a means of gaining ward, but it's not a good means of gaining ward. So oh, here we go. So this right here, like, is a major, like a major bonus to every kind of character in terms of word generation. Yeah, but at the same time, because now everyone is going to have access to word generation and word threshold, word decay threshold, that also means that, you know, they needed to nerf the amount of word decay threshold you get from intelligence and decrease the benefits of having bonuses from intelligence in like classes that don't have direct access to intelligence, such as rogue, because, you know, that would make it that, you know, like, since they want ward to be the realm of the mage and the acolyte, you know, that, like, even though, like, now you can be a rogue that has ward, you know, in ways other than being a falconer with coordinated fade. Like this, like, even though, like, now, like, you know, you can be a rogue that has this, like, that it isn't something that's going to be like, oh yeah, this is the meta now, all rogues need to go full, you know, full ward. Like, you know, this is just a thing that you can have to, you know, to gain some amount of additional survivability, especially, you know, in the loss of certain health things. So, like, while, like, you know, like, health, like, character health is increased per level, and added health affixes are higher now, and as long with getting, you know, so, like, you know, while, like, we have the whole ward per second and ward decay threshold thing here, we also have this affix that, or the suffix that gets you added health and health regen. Which I'm curious how... because this is on rings and relics. If we go back to the game, it's on rings and relics. And the hybrid health one is a suffix. They can be on gloves, boots, belts. So 2 on belts. Two on belts, 2 on gloves. Two on relic. 2 on ring. And 2 on chest. Two on helmet. Yeah, so every single piece can have two health affixes now. Well, every single piece except for amulets. Amulets and shields. Shields can only have one also. And going back to the notes. It's crit avoidance and dodge rating. And they're buffing the amount of health you get on helmets, body armor, belt, boots, gloves, and shields. Oh, rings that. I basically... What was available at amulets? I'm never seeing any of those for amulets. Oh, okay. Yeah, so there was one for amulet. Yeah, so the flat health... I'm pretty sure that's the flat health. Yeah. Yeah, so the flat health... Like, that one was able to roll on amulets. So the flat health one is being improved quite a bit from on the tier 4 through tier 7s. Endurance threshold can only roll on belts now, which is interesting. Yeah, so through gear, you can have a lot more health now. Through idols, not so much, but through gear, you can have a lot more health than used to. Yeah, honestly, like, this is actually worrying me. It worries me quite a bit that Yeah, because we can see that, this is a level 96 character with 2,380 health. Mostly because I'm leveling up these Weaver boots right now. But like if they're increasing player health by that much, because I know that they're also getting a pretty substantial boost to. I'm not sure why it keeps moving around on these. That's weird. There we go. We're also getting like a pretty substantial boost to enemy danger, as we're going to see here. Yeah, so magic and rare enemy changes. See that enemies have more health and deal more damage now. So like seeing 10% more damage. Again, that doesn't seem like a big deal. But when you have like 300 corruption or more, that's that 10% is being increased by an additional 300%. So that is pretty substantial. Every 10% that they add is additional, like an additional 30% worry for the player side. I think that you are going to have to stack health based on based on what we're seeing here. I mean, only 5% for rares. But once again, that's a 15% bonus if you're on a 300 corruption area. Well, actually, no. I'm doing that math wrong. Next, that's a times 4, not a times 3. Yeah, so for every 5%, that's an additional 20%. Yeah, so most likely what this is saying is that if you're in any kind of high corruption anything, then they want you to have at least 3,000 health from now on. I don't think that players are going to be able to survive in high corruption with low health anymore. That's unfortunate. Like I like making tanky characters, but being forced to invest in health is lame. Super lame. And that's why we have so much more health regen too. Because health regen was real hard to get before. Now we're going to have lots of access to health regen in much larger quantities. Which actually, a funny one in here. Let me see if I can find it. none of these are the one that I'm thinking of. And there's a funny change that they did. Oop. Did it bring me to the thing I was looking for? I don't think it did. I think it was a unique. Oh no, it was a set item. It was one of the sets. No? It is one of the sets. That bonus. Shadow Dance. Oh, the set bonuses are down here, though. Oh, here it is. I'm not sure why I wasn't seeing it before. Yeah, so apparently, and I don't know how people were doing this, but apparently, so you see this 1500% here. This is what they're limiting you to now. So 1500% meaning that that is the maximum increase in damage to melee code damage that you can get based on your health regen. You see that before, it was a 15% increase per 10 health regen with no limit. And they capped it at 1500 for season 2. Which means that somehow, like right now, the way the game currently is, there were people who, like, so in order to get like this, you know, this 5% up to 1500%, like that means that you have to have 3000 health regen. Which means that there's players who have characters with over 3000 health regen. And I have no idea how. There is nothing in this game that I've seen regarding like uniques, like character skill trees, synergy combos with skills. I haven't seen anything that would allow that. But it means that it does exist, and I have no idea how, like how people are doing this. I may be... Actually, no, I can see it. I'm seeing it now. Yeah, they're doing it using legendaries. You were using legendaries to get crazy health regen. Yeah, it's so obvious now that I'm looking at it. 3,000 health regen. That is crazy. That is crazy. Yeah, because if we go back to the game... Okay, so there aren't any unique amulets or rings that provide health regeneration. I mean, there's some that do health regen, but... Okay. Why is that different? Why is that different? That should not be different. But it is. There's health regen, and there's health regeneration. My day is ruined. Yeah, so a legendary Quicksilver coil with double regen. Your legendary Azuro Fury. Okay, so only gloves can have both health regeneration and health per second. But I think they're removing that, though. I think that's in the... I think that's one of the things in here. They're making it that that the gloves no longer have health regen. Okay, it definitely did not bring me where I asked it to bring me. Okay, we gotta reload the page again. Yeah, increased health regen can no longer roll on gloves. Yeah. So no double regen. No legendary double glove regen. Well, I mean, I don't think there are any gloves that had regen on them. I mean, I have, Weaver gloves that have it, but yeah, the set bonus from last bear does not provide regen. Like the hat has a bunch of regen on it. Nope. Yes, I'm not sure that there was anything actually like worrying in terms of like set items and like legendary potential. Like non-uniques probably have a like a stronger claim to. I mean, obviously, legacy items, non-unique legacy items will have like a stronger claim to being able to pull off that insane amount of regen, but I don't think that's something that they really need to worry about. And like, I'm very curious what what people were able to pull off that made EHG do this. It seems like a knee-jerk reaction to a thing that people were not doing. Or if people were doing it, then it's way less people than they think were doing it. Yeah. Anyways, I will be right back. A minute. So, all that said, the only changes that I really need to make with my rogue are the switch over regarding ballista. And so the way I'm set up right now, I'm not invested in fencing grace. Yeah, I'm not really invested in anything that increases a specific type of damage. So you can see that my melee damage is at 154. My physical is at 93. So before the patch goes live, I would need to significantly improve my melee or physical. Because change to hunt, that's going down to 50%. Well, I mean, this specifically says melee, throwing, or bow. But not physical. Yeah. And I only have a damage specific stat on one of the two weapons that I'm dual wielding. So it gets 30% of that 74% instead of the 60% that it gets now. And I don't think I have like a similarly good dodge sword that also has damage on it. Has necrotic damage, but that's not going to help. These have dodge on them, but they are not swords. They need to be swords. Trying to remember why it is that needs to be swords. Oh, I think it's because of something I'm wearing. No, actually this would be better with a dagger. Okay, it was probably because of this hat. I was using this hat before. That was why it needed to be swords. Or maybe there was another reason. I just forgot what it was. Is this? No. I was probably using stuff before that, you know, made it that swords were the preferred thing. So let's see. If I take out that Smoke Weaver. Our dodge rating is 3020 right now. Swap that out. Yeah, so it goes up. Goes up considerably with that. I mean, obviously you can't inherit any additional dodge from daggers, because daggers don't get dodge. And if I could get that melee damage, that would be nice. What is that? I could upgrade that. Yeah, it's fully upgraded. Crit chance and melee damage. You wouldn't want to get the melee lightning. Don't care about the cast speed. Yeah, but it's just as likely to get the health or health on melee hit. Health on kill or health on melee hit. Now we can try it real quick. Do a quick Temporal Sanctum. I'll just do a 2. Just keep it nice and easy.
More rats come to gnaw at the edges of my sanctum.
Thank you for the money. I appreciate it. Yeah, keep an eye out for those, just in case. Yeah, I do need to be stacking bows for when I try out. And I decided that I'm definitely going... originally, I wasn't going to save scum the marksman practice, but like I said, I'm going to because the I'll show it in the patch notes. There we go. Go to the top. Here we go. Mastery respec. 1 million to to respec at level 100. 600,000 to respec at level 90. My character is level 96. So it's going to be something like 800,000 to respec, and I ain't going to eat that cost. I will not. I am cheap. I'm cheap, cheap, cheap. My characters are offline, so save scum it is. Oh, that's pretty nice. I don't know if the flat one is the one that's getting removed or the percentage one. I think it's the percentage one that's getting removed. Yeah, the quiver is cold damage, so no. Oh, that's a really good one. Yeah, I'll take both of those. I don't remember what this guy's working on right now. Okay, so they have a new one. Do I have something I want to... Something I want to play around with. One of my bows that I might want to use that doesn't have any legendary potential. It's a long shot. Enemies can't dodge puncture. Both fire and cold and lightning. Plus 40 bow physical if you have at least 40 dexterity. That's pretty good. Oh, that's a bow crit. Yeah. That'll give that something. Okay, there's one over here.
Destroy that bitch. You save me. You dare.
They won't forget that. Might have to drop something.
Yeah, that minion health is the only reason I picked this up. Also, in case of your first time seeing me play this, I do not keep the evade skill bound. Although this may change, because if we go back to the patch notes again, I guess it's in other. No, it's definitely not in there. Yeah, because there's fixes for the dodge, or for the evade. Or a gamepad. It's not there. I remember seeing that there was a fix for the dodge, but I thought it wasn't bug fixes. Maybe they put it somewhere else. No, definitely not there. I remember for sure seeing something. Oh, okay. It was in general skill changes. We can see that, like, they fixed a bunch of stuff for movement skills and the evade skill. So hopefully this will fix the issue that exists in offline where, like, the evade would cause the player character to, like, evade to the place where they were trying to move to and then right back to where they started from, which would, result in death in many situations. And so when season 2 gets here, I'm going to bind
How is this possible?
like that skill again to be able to use it. But if it happens even one time, then we'll unbind it again.
Not happening.
A nice physical, but not fire. Well, I mean,
Might have to drop some.
there's potential for losing the fire. I'm sorry, yeah, losing the fire. Get rid of this real quick.
You dare to stand against me?
Not happening. Might have to drop something.
Yeah, I've never looked into whether minion dodge rating is actually any good. But I do not pick those things up. There it is.
Not happening.
Fighting me is foolish.
Carry the Epoch then? Fool like you has no use for it.
Not happening.
Okay. Let's fight.
Epoch, I will have it. Escape is impossible.
Not happening.
Escape is impossible. Escape is impossible. Escape is impossible. Escape is impossible. Still so much.
Yeah, too much stuff dropped. That's unfortunate. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure this is the one that they're getting rid of. That's actually pretty nice. Somnia. 2 Somnias, 3 Somnias. Of course. Oh, these jerks. How dare they? How dare they give me all of this luscious loot? How could they? Yeah, I need to take that. I have plenty of extras of this, so I don't need to pick that up. I can only take 1 Somnia. I guess the best ward retention one. Farewell to the rest. I hardly knew you. Alright, I never... I forgot that I pulled that out in order to upgrade it, and then I never upgraded it. Let's see if we can chaos that in something good. Ah, fire. Just as bad. How about you? Increased stun. They're all maxed out now. Yeah, so it's either health on hit, stun chance, fire, or melee. Come on, melee. Yeah, stun chance. Of course it was. Oh well. I've been switching between games so much this last month. I can't remember. I need to start just going into every game. I need to start going to the key bindings and just make them all like the same thing for everything. Because my brain can't keep up. And so I have all this stun chance on this dagger. And unfortunately, that's the only dagger I have that has dodge on it. Yeah, they're all fully upgraded. Oh, you get anything new? It has 1 intelligence now. This one has more stun duration, but yeah, keep them both. There's plenty of space in this tab right now. You don't have any. Do I care? Not really. Yeah, don't worry about what's in here. I'll be going over that when I do my save scum. Okay, so yes, without some farming, I'm not going to be able to get any more damage bonuses to keep. Mind you, like I would need a massive amount of damage bonuses. Like a crazy amount on both weapons. In order to keep Dive Bomb and Falconry where they are. Oh, and Ballista. I would need more than double what I currently have. That's not going to happen. Yeah, but plan for this character is try the new version of Care Package, see how it feels with this. Like if this just doesn't feel like it's I guess worth it anymore, like then we'll get rid of these and go over to arm construction. Like dive bomb. There's no real changes that... I mean, like, if it feels like this isn't even worth having anymore, like, after that, then... like, maybe I'll mess around with something else. But for now, like, I think I'll keep it the way it is right now. And then falconry... there's no real worthwhile changes for the way that I play this character. So I think even with this going down to 50%, it's still going to be like worthwhile the way it is. Yeah, the biggest changes are going to be like, you know, like what's going to happen when we load up and go to fight Aberoth. A little under on necrotic. And I think necrotic is what Aberoth does. Like, I thought it would be void, but like thinking back on that first thing it did, that may have been necrotic. I can't afford to get rid of any fire. This is going to be turning into an elemental. I'm not sure which one though. Depending on which one turns into elemental. Now, because if it is the percentage one that turns into elemental, then that means that this will be worth a lot more. I can probably get rid of one of my other fire ones. If it's the flat one that gets changed out. Now this little one. Only one little one. I guess I can switch like this one in and this one in. And that 8%, that'll get us back to overcapped on necrotic. I mean, I'm not going to do it at the moment because I want to see how much our health goes down before I do that. Yeah, but those are the only those are like the major things for this character. Just seeing how Ballista feels. Well, well. Yeah, part of why our necrotic is bad is because we're not wearing our boots right now. With our actual boots on, yeah, we're overcapped with our boots on. And I forgot that we were leveling these. And so it's really just seeing how our health is affected by the change that happens to these. I could make the adjustments where we need to, and then going and taking on Abra, see how we do with this version of our build. And depending on how that does, then we'll, I'll create my backups, turn off the cloud saving, and do the full on a mastery respec. Try this guy out using the new skill. See how it feels for future stuff with my marksman. Because I have a marksman, I just I want to see like what that feels like at end game without having to commit. Yeah, that's as much as needs to be done here. Like for my spell blade, I think is going to be easy. I don't think there's any like real changes that we need to make for my spell blade. Yes, let's pull up the go to the mage stuff. And so the skills that we use on our mage are Shatter Strike, Flame Ward, Focus, Enchant Weapon, and Flame Reave. And I think all of those are good. So Enchant Weapon. They just updated the visual effects. Focus, they fixed a description issue. Overcharge. Yeah, we're not invested in overcharge, but overcharge has a maximum of 2 points now, and that is a passive skill that makes it that you can use focus to build mana above your maximum. And energy battery. Oh, sorry, energy overflow. Oh. Energy overflow. Yeah, not invested in that either, but This one, like basically while you're channeling, like you're kind of like pulsing out waves of electrical damage that are based on your max mana. And they're essentially increasing like the amount of your mana that is converted to damage. So, you know, buff. Energy battery. Yeah, I'm not invested in energy battery, but this one is similar to energy overflow, except that the damage occurs when you finish channeling. So like when you complete the focus and it kind of like pulses, and like there's like the big burst at the end. Then you will unleash a bunch of damage based on an amount of the mana you would have gained. And that amount is also going up, so buff on buff there as well. Filling aura, burning aura, and shocking aura. Now these are going down, so like instead of taking 25% less damage from chilled, ignited, and shocked enemies, you'll only take 20% less if fully invested in all three, which oh, here it is. So chilling aura is down here. Yeah, so that is possible. I mean, you wouldn't be able to get any other functionality out of focus if you were to do that, but yeah, you can go 1 point resolute stance, 2 points prismatic stance, then full 5 points chilling aura, full 5 points burning aura, 1 point mana flooded, and full 5 points shocking aura. So you could do it, but I don't know if that's the best use of focus. And iron stance. Here it is. Yeah, so iron stance. I have 1 point in. So we're going to get 2% less armor and 1 less flat armor per intelligence. But not a huge loss. I was only 1 point invested in that anyway. Then for Flame Ward, they just fixed some bugs. You know, so no changes there. For Flame Reeve, there was a bug in online mode regarding the visual effects, but no real changes there. Damage effectiveness was actually buffed on Flame Reeve. So my Flame Reeve is actually going to be much stronger on Thursday, which is funny. And then Shatter Strike. Is it? Then Shatter Strike. And so, and for this one, I'll switch over to in-game. We can see here that Shatter Strike currently states that it kills enemies below 100 health. That's going to be below 10% health. So massive bonus in terms of culling. And Obliteration, which is this right here. No longer grants 50%. Yeah, so basically, like this used to turn that 100 into 300. But now it turns the 10%. Actually, so yeah, so it's a plus. So it turns the 10% to a 14%. Because you can now put 2 points into it. There's a 2-point skill. It makes it that the cold threshold goes up to 14%. And Winter Boon. This right here. Yeah, so that used to go and increase the amount of kill threshold that this used to have. But now it just gives you mana back when you kill a frozen enemy. Yeah, so like this guy is basically untouched. Like the only thing that changed for him is that he's going to be stronger. So I don't need to make any gear changes. I don't need to make any build changes. And the only passive changes that were made were to Rune Master and Sorcerer. And I don't have points in either of those. Yeah, so this guy is okay. So I wanted to, I could actually recommend this one. For my druid, I don't think anything... I don't think anything major changed for me. I think most of the stuff was like cosmetic for a druid. So passive skills. Have anything in... I have some points in Beastmaster and Shaman. So Shamanic Infusion is not the thing that got affected. Ursine Strength, Savagery, and Ambush were not affected. Yeah, so no passive changes happened that affected me. So Entangling Roots we have. It was just a... like an animation bug for Entangling Roots that they fixed. There was a bug with Itera's Blessing that made it that it didn't target the lowest health ally. For Spriggan form, we weren't using Veil Tide, but that's yeah, right over here. Switch to the game. So Veil Tide here. Like so, this was a mutator for Entangling Roots that was affected by going into the Spirit Whisperer, which is something that you would gain when using Spirit Thorns. So you'd gain, so by going through this route and getting Spirit Whisperer, you would summon Veil Spirits when you hit with Spirit Thorns. And then getting Veil Tide would make it that like you could consume the spirits to cast Entangling Roots. But now Like you no longer gain extra Veil Spirits when you invest in that, but you gain more rage and more damage for Tangling Roots that's cast that way. And now when you summon Vines as when you're in Spriggan form, which can be done in a few ways, but like with creeping underbrush, you can summon a vine. Like when a nearby enemy dies. Like you can actively summon vines as a Spriggan. That's one of the skills they have. Spirit Thorn, Thorn Shield, Summon Vine, and Summon Healing Totem. You can just summon vines, but you have kind of like things you can invest in to summon vines passively. But whatever vines you summon, even if you have like the... I mean, I'm guessing it's going to work for this. Like with Summon Spriggan, like it can summon... I mean, it can use your Ensnaring Roots, and when using your Ensnaring Roots, it can... I thought it could create vines, but I guess I was remembering wrong. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's Entangling Roots that you can invest in to cause it to grow vines. You know, so now like vines will be more apparent than they were before. And then for online play, Spirit Thorns I guess looks better. Which I'm not really sure what the issue was. Like, you know, I don't play online, but I'm not sure like what was happening with the animation of that skill online. But I guess there must have been something weird. And it has an easier time hitting enemies at different elevations. And they fixed a visual bug with Spriggan Form and Swarmblade. Like there was nothing regarding Summon Spriggan. And Werebear Form, yeah. A Werebear Form, it was just like visual stuff. So there was an issue with the lightning switchover. It wasn't happening in online mode. And there was an issue between using Maul and the damage actually occurring. Yeah, so no real changes for this one either. And I didn't see anything that would like hurt the way that my gear choices and I mean, like, I'm not using it, but let me switch to the game. I'm not using it, but if you like were wanting to play a Spriggan build, this one here, yeah. So this this amulet here, they're updating it so that the bonus to Spriggan form can roll up to a +2. Right now, the ranges on this are +1. It can be a +1 to summon Spriggan, +1 to Spriggan form. But after the update, you'll be able to find this amulet with potentially a +2 to Spriggan form. So if you were to have that and this one is Primalist, yeah. And I can get like a dedication of the erased that rolls, you know, a bonus to Spriggan form. You know, then you could get like a bunch of extra levels that way. And I think there's another thing that does Spriggan form. But a chest. Yeah, Veil Root. That can... Yeah. Range on that is just 1. Yeah, so you can get a bunch of extra bonuses to Spriggan form. Yeah, so this guy and my Spellblade seem to be okay. I think we have a little time left, so let's try to see if we can... go over the last 2. No. I definitely can't. I can go over my Lich. I cannot go over the Paladin. The Paladin, though, like the patch notes for Paladin are crazy. There are so many changes to Paladin. It took me literally an hour to go over all the changes for Paladin. So let's go and look at Lich. Or Acolyte. Okay, so only Warlock got affected. And the Warlock passive that got affected was Imperishable. So, Warlock. Okay, so Imperishable is right here. So Imperishable is this bonus that gives Vitality and has a threshold bonus to give increased ward decay threshold based on your necrotic resistance. And the change that they're making to it is that, like, it's one ward decay threshold per 2% necrotic resistance instead of 1%. So it's no longer 1-to-1, it's now 1-to-2. Skills. Chaos Bolts will be the first one that comes up. Nope. So no changes to Chaos Bolts. Yeah, no changes to Death Seal either. Harvest would be the next thing. Okay, no changes to harvest. Oh. Yeah, no changes to Aura of Decay. There is a change to Spirit Plague. Okay. So this is the only change to my Lich build. The Putrid Recovery. Is up here. Yeah, I was invested in that anyway. So gain ward when hitting an enemy afflicted by Spirit Plague. I actually have this, but not from here. Alright, so if you are invested in Harvest, then by getting Mind Harvest, like you have that same bonus. So you could basically double up on that bonus from Harvest and this. So before you could get 12 per hit. And now you can only get... Oh, I see. No, it actually went up. So you could actually, you can get 36 per... Yeah, because it... Yeah, they didn't change the number of points that you can invest in it. So you can get 36 per hit. But you can only get that amount of ward 10 times per 2 seconds. And higher amounts of cast speed will no longer stop Spirit Plague from functioning correctly. Which I'm curious what that means. Like, could you actually like cast it so fast that it would put Spirit Plague on an enemy, but like not cause it to do anything? Like, you know, like it would put the animation without putting the effect? That'd be funny if that's what it is. Yeah, but that's the only change that happened to my build. So these here, the Acolyte subskills. Yeah, I'm not invested in Reperform. I'm not invested in Soul Feast. Not invested in Infernal Shade. Not using Flame Whip. Not using Bone Prison. Yeah, so my Acolyte is good. And so my Lich, Spellblade, and Druid are all in good shape. I could make a video for them. Like the Paladin, I have to wait for the update. For my Paladin and my Falconer, I have to wait for the update to see what changes. You know, yeah, like, to see how the changes feel, because they're like I said, with the Paladin, it's massive changes, and I think honestly, my Paladin's going to be disgusting when the season 2 patch goes live. I think that character is going to go like through the roof. Like it is like it's very good right now. It is very good right now. It is an excellent build as is. And it's going, and I mind you, like there is one change that I'm very curious what's going to happen. Since, you know, they added the thing about, you know, like things that occur. Well, I mean, they specifically state in the patch notes that, you know, that ward no longer is, you know, like or functions correctly now when it comes to reduce the accessibility of ward generation from lots of quick hits. So, like, I'm pretty sure that, like, you know, the idea there, like, most likely the thing where we just, like, our ward just become, you know, just, like, fully fills up, like, when we're playing as a paladin. Like, I'm pretty sure that's going to get nerfed a bit from this. I don't know how much, you know, which is one of the reasons why I need to wait for the new season to go live before I can, like, say whether my paladin, like that part of the paladin build is still good. But I know that in terms of everything else from my paladin build, I know that, like, in terms of damage, it's going to go crazy. That the damage on that character is going to go absolutely crazy. Exactly how it is right now. Like, all of that damage is being buffed hugely in the new patch. A huge amount. So, right, so I just need to see how, like, the, you know, the accessibility of ward generation from lots of quick hits, how that is affecting it. Because, you know, because technically, like, this is not something that should affect my build, because the thing that is giving us our ward actually doesn't have anything to do with hitting enemies. But, like, you know, but maybe, you know, this is, you know, maybe this will affect it in some way. Maybe, like, you know, like they you know, they used like kind of specific language for something that is much broader than what they're saying here. Like, maybe this is actually like a much bigger nerf that than like than is being presented by the statement. But, you know, we'll see come Thursday. Anyways, so that is going to be it for this overview of the patch notes and how they have affected my builds. And tomorrow, I may just, like, I may just take tomorrow off, just because, like, I've been, like, you know, there are so many videos that I've been needing to work on for so long, and since I've been actively looking for work since the end of December when my entire company got closed down. Like, I haven't, you know, like I don't really have a lot, like even though, like, you know, obviously, like, I have free time in that I'm unemployed, but, you know, like, since all of my time is spent, like, looking for work, you know, like, I don't really, like, have time for like working on videos anymore, and I just have, like, you know, and I schedule out time for streaming, you know, from 1 to 4 o'clock every day, just so I don't go crazy because I don't have anything else to do. But, yeah, like making time for working on videos, like, something that I've been trying to work back into my daily routine. So maybe, like, tomorrow I'll just work on, like, a quick recommendation video for my Acolyte, Druid, and Spellblade videos. And that'll be what I do for tomorrow. I just work on that, upload it before the new patch goes live. Since we can see from the patch notes that there isn't anything that affected any of those builds, so they should be good to go. Anyways, that's gonna be it for me. Thanks everybody who stopped by to check me out. If you enjoyed the stream, appreciate doing the YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, Vivictus, Visor Damaris, and bye.